Welcome back to week 2 of Clay Play Read videos. Today we're going to be working on making a bell. So to get started, we're going to take our piece of clay and I'm going to break off a pretty big piece to make the body of my bell. So we're going to start by making a sphere. And then we're going to turn this sphere into a pinch pot. So you can follow along with the pink set of directions on your clay mat. But for making a pinch pot, you're going to roll the clay into a ball. And then we're going to push our thumb into the middle. Be careful not to go all the way through. You just want to go in there a little bit. And then we're going to start pinching around the edge. You're going to start at the bottom and sort of move your way around the ball of clay. You want to keep doing this and try and make it as even as possible, but we're going to do this until it gets to about that thickness. We want it to be maybe 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, somewhere in between there. And your clay should hold up, but if you make it too thin, it might end up collapsing. So just make sure you're making it thick enough. You can take a little bit of time and smooth out any of those edges. So this will be, like I said, the body of your bell. So it'll sort of be in this shape. So if you want it to be a taller bell, you can think about that while you're pinching it. Or if you want it to be sort of a shorter, wider bell, just think about the shapes and what you're going for when you're making your pinch pot. So I'm going to set that off to the side. The other components we need to make are the clapper, or the little piece that goes inside, and then we also need to make a handle. So I'm going to pull off a tiny piece of clay to make my clapper, and I'm just going to roll that in between my hands and make it into a little tiny sphere. And once I've got a little sort of like blueberry size, I'm going to take my skewer, I'm going to push all the way through to make a hole so that we can put a string in there later. So push that through. You want to make sure it's pretty big, at least the width of the skewer, because the clay will shrink when it goes into the kiln. So make sure you've got a pretty decent sized hole through there, and you can smooth out any jagged pieces that kind of pop up with that. So next thing we're gonna do is add a handle, and I'm gonna show you 2 different types of handles. Either way, you're gonna be making a coil, so you wanna rip off a piece, and we're gonna follow the coil, some of the coil instructions in the blue section on your clay mat. So I'm gonna squeeze it out into a log and then start rolling it. You want your coil to be pretty thick, maybe about the size of your pointer finger. And so we have 2 options with it. We can make a bell handle that's sort of this shaped, or we can make one that's tall. So I'm going to start with showing you this shape, a little U shape. So it's a little long for my liking, so I'm going to take my cutting tool and just kind of chop off those edges. I think that's going to be a little bit better shape for me. Yeah. So I'm going to take my water and scratch and attach that on using my scratching tool. And we're going to scratch on the bell where we want to attach and the ends of the handle. And then take a little water, wet that spot, put those on. I'm gonna do a little bit of smoothing too. So once I've got my handle on, there's only one more step with my bell. So my last step, no matter what type of handle you put on, you need to take your skewer and poke a hole in your bell towards the top, as close to the center as you can. And I'm just doing it the width of my skewer again, and you can see it got a little jagged on the inside, so you might need to smooth that out a little bit. Just make sure it stays pretty wide. Maybe go back through with your skewer. So you have a hole there so that we can string on the clapper, and then we'll fish the string through so that it will all come together and make your bell sound. So that is making a bell. And like I said, there's another handle option that you can just make a thicker coil and make a single handle on top, and then your hole would be off to the side a little bit more than that. But either way works as long as you've got a handle, a clapper, and then the body of your bell, which is your pinch pot. Great. Thank you guys, and we'll see you again soon. So for painting your bell, you're gonna grab your underglazes, your paintbrushes. I like to sometimes work on top of a scrap piece of paper, and I've got a little piece of cardboard that I had, but you can also paint on top of your cardboard circle included in your plastic box. And with the paint, I also sort of like to use a scrap piece of paper or a piece of cardboard to put some of my underglaze paint on. So for painting, your bell, you can paint, you can add some of your underglaze to our little ball that we've made that's gonna go on the inside. And then you can also paint the inside and the outside of your bell if you'd like, or just the outside, whatever you prefer. Okay, I've let my first coat of paint dry, and I'm gonna go back and add some decorations. I think I'm gonna add some little music notes to my bell. So you can definitely layer your underglazes. I would just recommend letting them dry a little bit in between. But you can go ahead and paint different things on top. With the yellow that I have on the base, I did 2 coats. Some of the lighter colors, you definitely need a couple of coats in between, so you might want to let those layers dry in between as well. Once your bell is all finished up, you can go ahead and set it inside of your plastic container, snap the lid on, and it's ready to go back to the clay studio for firing.